What are you watching, Mom?
I'm watching World War Z.
World War Z, a zombie movie that's actually good. For me personally, I'm never really into zombie movies because the gore almost always overwhelms the story. In this case, I was pleasantly surprised that I liked this one. It's a very solid film. It had its problems, but one of the best parts of the entire film is basically the way the first 30 minutes is structured. It is minimalist on character development. It gives you the key essential, which is basically that Brad Pitt plays a character who cares about his family, and that's very important to the entire story. They do just enough. A very little amount of that, and then they go straight into the suspense when this epidemic starts. When the film gets to the point where they're sitting there in the cars and the epidemic breaks out where they're at, it's really intense. And that scene leads to so much chasing and running and just suspense for outright first 30 to 40 minutes, and that's the best part of the movie. And it is very solid, very strong. And if the whole movie had been that solidly placed, it would have been a great movie. That being said, it's still a very good movie. It got into some problems a little bit later. So I would say, the next 40 minutes or so, it's still good. It has more story, which is important, and you need the story because it has to have some reason to exist other than just it can't just all be suspense. I get that. You're like, okay, so we're gonna cyclical plot thing now, where he's just gonna go to a place and then everything's gonna seem normal, and then people will just deal with the chaos when it happens. And it does happen. The chaos is frantic, and the best have them running from zombies and being chased and fighting back. It's really good, I thought, at that. And then the final act is where most of the problems occur. The film had all these infamous problems being developed. They were the director and the main star Brad Pitt were in conflict with one another about how it should go, and they had to basically reshoot the entire third act. And you can tell a little bit, but mainly it's a good third act. It's just that it felt like there was something more that we just needed. Uh, but that being said, they had a really great concept for it. The set piece was perfect. The suspense was top notch for most of it, but then it gets into this very important scene, which I won't tell you what it is because it's a major spoiler. I'll just say I saw it coming 5 minutes before it happened, but before what happens, there's something going on, and it's supposed to be suspenseful and scary, but people in our theater were laughing at that part of it. And it's because it just, it's already explained without telling you, but I'll just say that took me out of the third act some, and then the fact that I saw it was coming. And then the final parts of the ending, where there's some really great ideas, some really great images, and I was like, I want to see more of that in the sequel. I hope they put some more of that in the sequel. And the other parts of it were very, generic kind of things, but it's an okay ending, and it definitely implies a sequel. It just kind of leaves off, and you're like, well, it does tell you where it might go, but it doesn't tell you for sure. But I was very interested about where it will go because the whole film is strong for the most part as far as it's suspenseful. The acting is very solid. Brad Pitt carries the film on his shoulders because he's the only character that really gets the most development and the only real development because his family exists and they have some development, but they don't really change. They just exist for him to care about, basically. That's kind of how it goes. But Brad Pitt does a top-notch job. He proves that he's a megastar, and he proves why he's a megastar because he just really carries this film really well. And I was very impressed with his performance. And Mark Forster did a very solid job at directing. One of the most questionable parts of the film will be the editing, because it's a directorial choice to not show the gore, but it's also an editor's choice, and some people will be upset because there are some scenes where you're like, there's gotta be gore here, but there's not. I mean, there were some gory parts, but honestly, I couldn't remember them because they weren't awful or anything. They just happened really quick, and it could have been a lot gorier. And a lot of people are saying they want unrated director's cut. And I'm like, I'd go for an extended version, but I don't want to see the gore. I mean, that was the reason why they didn't, is because it's not exactly a typical zombie movie. It's more of a combination of Contagion and I Am Legend meshed together and made into a summer blockbuster thriller with zombies. And that's why they didn't, because it's a summer blockbuster, and R-rated movies have had a lot of trouble with the box office when it comes to trying to sell them. There's the exception. 300 and Wanted and The Matrix. But for every one of those, there's about 5 or 10 more that fail. Just saying. So, it being PG-13 makes sense because it cost $109 million to make, and they used the budget very well. I like the special effects. The only real problems that they had with the editing that bothered me per se were that sometimes it's moving really fast and you're just getting jerked around from shot to shot. And for the suspense scenes, that's totally fine, totally perfect. You're like, yes, yes. You have to pay attention because you have to care to follow that, because your mind is like, oh, where is it? It takes a while to get used to, but once you do, if you're liking the suspense, you're gonna be able to handle the editing. But there are a few editing things where it looks like in this one part, it looks like this plane's gonna blow up, but then the shot just stops, and it went to something else really quickly. Like that shot goes and then another shot, and I don't even think they show the plane explode. I'm just like, what? And for those reasons, I'll give World War Z a 3.5 out of 5, which means it's McDonald's, but with half of a chocolate chip cookie cake. So it's satisfying, but it could have been better. I was wondering, what's your thoughts on the zombie genre? Do you prefer your zombie movies gory, or more about story, or you prefer them funny like Zombieland or Kitty like Scooby-Doo? Just let me know what you think about that, and tell me what you think about World War Z. Feel free to tell me what you agree with me on and what you disagree with me on. And also, I was going to let you know that the next film I'll be reviewing is Pacific Rim, and I'm looking forward to it. I can see it tomorrow night, and I'll post a review as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys.